Is this mic on? Ugh, I'm so bad with fucking technology.
Mommy, you said the F word.
Sorry, babe. Welcome to Mommy You Said the F Word. I'm your host, Sarah Goldsboro. I've experienced firsthand the messy, magical, and sometimes maddening world of motherhood. We'll share some laughs and shed some tears as I dive deep into the highs and lows of life, confront loss, chat about career, fitness, creating a life you love, finding yourself again after kids, and who the fuck knows what else. This is a space where authenticity reigns supreme. So get ready to strip away the BS and get candid as fuck. Hey guys, it's been a minute. It's been, I think, about a month since I've recorded my last episode. And I have to be so honest with you. I was on the struggle bus. And that is the reason why I took a little break and I haven't recorded in about a month. I was struggling. When I started this podcast, I had been planning for it for a couple of months leading up to the launch of it at the end of December. And then from December through March, I was recording and editing and posting an episode once a week for 14 episodes. I was on top of it for the beginning, and it was new and it was fun and it was exciting, but it was also, I was learning, was very time consuming. Some weeks I just really was not in the mood to record, but I needed to get an episode out. And so it has really been like a learning experience having a podcast, and it's taught me a lot about myself. And it's taught me that, first of all, I can do anything that I put my mind to, and that is for certain. I have really been proud of myself for following through with something that has really been in my heart to do for a while now. But I also learned that I can't just always go full force all the time, that eventually, even if it is something that I want to do and it's something fun and exciting and something that I'm passionate about, if I just go full force all the time, I'm gonna burn out. And that's pretty much what I did last month. I just got to a point where I was like, I feel like, is it that I don't want to do this, or is it that I'm just burnt out because I've been going at this for a couple months now nonstop? It's taking up a lot of time and energy, mental energy. So I had to sit with it, and I was like, no, like, you've been wanting to do a podcast. You have a lot to say. You have a lot to give to the world. This is not, you don't want to give up on this. I was telling myself this. I'm like, this is something you want to do. So what's the problem? And I have in the past been really passionate about something and followed through, and then realized that maybe it just like wasn't for me, which that's fine. Like, we do things throughout the course of our life that maybe we're into for a little while, and then maybe we find that it's not for us anymore. That's totally fine. But I didn't feel like that when it came to the podcast. I was just like, I came to the conclusion I was just fucking burnt out, and that's all it was. And I was, going full steam and trying to get an episode out every week, and people don't realize, until you start doing it, how much time and energy that actually takes. Recording the episode, planning for the episode, and creating an outline and just like kind of your flow for the episode. And then the editing process, I'm doing it myself right now. A lot of people outsource that and have people do that for them. It is very expensive, and it's just not something that I'm at a point where I'm ready to do that. But I like the editing process. It just takes a long time. It takes sometimes a full day for me to edit one episode. So for me to have this, have the time to do that every week, it was becoming more of a burden than I wanted it to be. I didn't want this to not be fun anymore. And I know that like a lot of things behind the scenes are not always fun when producing, a podcast or any projects. Like there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that isn't always fun. I do understand that. I have had online courses before, and I know how much goes into, recording the videos and then, having someone edit them and then the website and upkeeping the website. Like I'm very aware of, although it's, fun and pretty and exciting to look at, a lot of work goes into it behind the scenes. And so, when I took on wanting to do a podcast, I knew I was going to be taking on a lot of extra things that were going to take up a lot of time. And I just basically came to the realization that I was just burnt out. I was fucking tired. I was also comparing myself as a new podcaster and trying to crank out one episode a week. When I told people that, they were like, oh my God, that seems like a lot. And I'm like, yeah, but like, I feel like when you're starting something new, you want to gain some traction. So it was really important to me to be able to get an episode out per week so you can get to know me and I could have some, really good guest episodes. I was really excited and I am still very excited. But what I realized is that I was comparing myself to, how cute is it of me to compare myself to podcasters that not only have been doing this for a long time, but who also it is now, that's pretty much like their main job. And so me trying to do an episode a week, just like a lot of these podcasters where like this is their main thing that they do, I was like, I'm trying to do this on top of working 3 days a week in the salon, being a mom, doing things at home and just all the things that go into daily life. I'm like, I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself that maybe I don't need to be putting on myself. And then I was doing the whole, like, does anybody even care? Is anybody even listening to this podcast? Like, why the fuck am I putting so much time and energy into something that nobody probably even cares about? And, I had to stop myself. I'm like, no. For a fact there are people that are listening that are getting something out of this. And for a fact that you have a lot to give to the world and give to people. So don't sell yourself short. You didn't come this far to only come this far. And this is what I had to tell myself, because it's in times like this when you start something and when it starts to get hard, that's where people give up. When things start to get hard, that's when people just throw in the towel and they're like, no, it's too much. I can't do it. And this isn't what I wanted. Yes, it is what you wanted, but now you are realizing this is where the consistency and the persistence comes in, is when things start to get hard. And I sat and I thought to myself, I said, everything that you manifested, everything that you asked for, I sat and I wrote down and I said out loud to myself in the beginning of this year, everything that I wanted to do this year, everything that I wanted to manifest for this coming year, it's all happening. And the problem is that it's happening all at the same time. So it just feels very overwhelming sometimes. But when I really sat and slowed down for a few minutes and I realized, I'm like, you're getting everything that you asked for. This is what you wanted. You wanted to start a podcast this year. You wanted to revamp your business in the salon. I took a break from posting hair content because, to be honest, it wasn't where my main focus was last year. Last year, I was really focusing on some personal things. I was focusing on writing my memoir for The Losses We Keep. I was planning the podcast. I was planning all of these and in the process of, doing a lot of things that were very near and dear to my heart and personal projects that I had been wanting to do for a while. So that's really where my main focus was. So I wasn't posting a lot of hair content, which is what I had been doing for years up until that point. And so, when you kind of slow down from doing those kinds of things, like people were used to me posting a lot of hair content. So because I wasn't posting a lot of hair content anymore, I wasn't getting a lot of new clients. I still had my regular clients, which I am always grateful for. And they knew what I was doing because I would share with them during their appointments some things that I was working on. They knew that the book was coming out later in the year. I had, dropped some little hints about possibly doing a podcast. I didn't want to put it out there before it was like ready to go, but I did tell a few close friends and clients that this was something that I was working on. So, last year was really a big focus on things in my personal life. And now this year, I'm really refocusing on my business life again, but also not to the extent where it's taking over my life, because I feel like I have found a really good balance in my life between like my family and my personal life and my business life. I've really kind of found a sweet spot throughout the years. I know my boundaries and my limits when it comes to business. And, so I didn't want to take too much away from like being with my family, and my first priority is going to be, anything that my son is involved in. I want to be there for as many of his football and soccer games and taekwondo belt tests. I'm always going to be there for him no matter what. And, doing new things like a podcast, that's a big undertaking and it takes a lot of time. And then doing that as well as, still working full time, it's just things start to get really overwhelming sometimes. And so about a month ago, that's really how I was feeling. I was feeling the effects of kind of being out of balance, having a good balance with personal and business and projects and things like that. It's something that, I kind of dance a fine line with. And it was getting to the point where I was feeling really overwhelmed with just not having enough time to not only spend with my family, but also I was just feeling stressed out, overwhelmed, feeling like I was being pulled in too many directions, and I wasn't giving anything 100%. And I feel like that's normal with anything. It's really hard to give anything in life 100% because let's face it, especially as like moms, we're never going to have 100% time to put into anything because we're always going to have our family and our kids. That's always going to be a main priority. And then, working, you have to give a percentage of your time and energy to that. And for me as a hairstylist, on the days that I work, I give so much energy to people all day long. I work very long days, and I do that purposely so I don't have to work as many days throughout the week. So I do have time to do other things. But on the days that I work, I give so much of my energy to clients. And there were days that I would come home and I just had literally nothing left, and I would just go right to bed. And there was a day where I worked for 12 hours and the next day I was off and I was in bed pretty much like half the day. I was so exhausted, and not just like physically, but just like mentally. When you are just giving yourself to your clients and your energy and your time and having to cater to them all day long, it is really exhausting. So I basically was just like, the podcast isn't the problem. I want to do the podcast. I love talking to my audience. I love connecting with people. This is why I decided to start a podcast. I was just burnt out and I was just overwhelmed and I was just tired. So I was like, you know what? Let's just take a break. You just need a break, girl. Like, you don't want to stop doing the podcast. You just need a fucking break. Literally. And so that's what I did. And I didn't make any announcements. I don't feel like we always have to like explain ourselves or make announcements. I just took a break. And so the last month was pretty busy. Some of the things that I had going on, well, my son was on spring break and I wanted to have intentional days of spending time with him. And we were also hosting Easter. So then my husband and I, because we were hosting Easter, we decided that we wanted to do a few projects around the house before Easter, which included building a gazebo over our deck, which we had plans for our contractor to do that. However, I will spare you the boring details, but we had so many issues with the shipping of the gazebo. So we were supposed to have that done like weeks ago, but because the shipment kept getting fucked up, we ended up building it ourselves the weekend before Easter. So last weekend. So, that was something unexpected that we were not planning on doing, but we took that on. And then, just having time to spend with Cam while he was off school. And it was also my husband's birthdays and my mom's birthday. So we had, some family get-togethers and dinners planned. And then on top of that, I really was just trying to prioritize my mental health. I really wanted to stay on top of my workouts, and I was prioritizing just like whenever I could, just having a little quiet time. And I watched some shows and I wasn't on my phone. I tried to limit just the mindless scrolling, because I realize also that puts me in such a funk. I get so angry about things going on in the world, politics. It stresses me out, and I was trying to de-stress. So I kind of stayed off my phone. I really wasn't posting that much. I don't even think I posted my husband like a happy birthday post. He's not on social media, but it's like you want to post like happy birthday regardless. And I don't even think I did that. I was like, you know what? I'm spending the day with him. We're doing dinners together. He knows I love him. He knows I want to give him a happy birthday. So I'm like, who am I trying to please here? What am I trying to prove? Like, I don't need to post things just to post things. And I felt like that's kind of where I was going for a little while, feeling the need to stay on top of things with social media, to always post. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I have my salon business. I post when I have new episodes of the podcast. I'm following my numbers. People are listening. People are watching. So I'm like, you know what? Just take a little fucking chill pill and, lay in bed some days, watch your shows, get off social media, spend time with your family, get outside and just relax a little bit. Like, you don't always have to be going full speed. I definitely was doing that for the first part of the year. For like January to March, I was like going full speed ahead. I was trying to do the podcast, work full time, work out, eat healthy, take care of my son, spend time with my family. I had nothing left for myself. And I definitely felt that. And I felt like I was losing my creative juices, like they just weren't flowing. I actually recorded 2 podcast episodes that I didn't even end up putting out there because I was like, they fucking suck. I hate them. Like, I don't even know what the fuck I was talking about those days. So they're just sitting in my computer right now. Who knows? Maybe I'll put them out at a later date. But I just felt like the vibes were off. I wasn't feeling them. And I was like, you know what? It's because you're just not in a good mental headspace right now. Like you are drained. And for me, I'm a creative as a hairstylist, just as a person. I'm a very creative person. And when I feel stressed, when I feel drained, when I don't have good mental energy or clarity, the creative juices, they're not flowing. And that's definitely how I felt when I recorded a couple episodes. I was like, no, I was like, this just ain't it. So I took a little break. My son was back at school this week. I'm like, great, let me go back to getting into the groove of recording the podcast again. It's been a few weeks. You gave yourself a break and, let's jump back in. But I am going to jump back in little by little. I am not promising anymore to have weekly episodes. I feel like that was something that was a very big goal for me starting the podcast, is to have an episode come out every week. And I committed to myself to do that for the first 14. I was trying to do 15 episodes, but like I said, the last episode I recorded, I just was not into it. So we, made it to 14 episodes every week. And now, there may be weeks where I have episodes come out every week, but sometimes it may be bi-weekly, maybe sometimes once a month, if that's all I can do. I am not overcommitting myself at this point. I want this to be something that I enjoy doing. I want this to be something fun. I want to be able to give you good content. I want to give you motivation, and I want to give you the best of me, and I just can't do that when I'm stressing myself out to put out an episode every week, because sometimes I'm just like, I'm busy, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm just not feeling it. So I really just, I want to be able to motivate you and inspire you, but I can't do that if I'm just like stressed the fuck out. And I think, people listening will respect that and understand. I talk to my clients at the salon and they're like, how the fuck are you working in the salon full time? I work 3 full days in the salon. So sometimes that can be 8 hours. Sometimes it's like 12 hours a day. So I'm working in the salon 3 days a week. And then I usually record a podcast episode one day, and then another day I'll do all my editing. They're like, how the fuck are you doing this on top of being a mom and like just regular life? And, just all the things, like, how are you like managing? I'm like, honestly, I don't know. And I'm some weeks barely hanging on by a thread. I'm tired, I'm moody, and I'm not feeling creative. So, maybe I need to, switch something up. So for me right now, the best way to do that is be a little bit more realistic with my podcast schedule. And so right now I'm going to shoot to have a podcast episode bi-weekly. And if I can add some bonus episodes in there, I will definitely do that. I just can't like overextend myself at this point. My goal for this year was to really get the podcast going, and then also to continue to build my business in the salon. There's some specific things I'm trying to do when it comes to that. So I'm also doing content for my salon business. So it's like, you can only do so much. And so that's what I'm learning in this process. And I'm really proud of myself, because there have been times when this would have just been my breaking point. I would have felt overly stressed out. I would have felt just overwhelmed, and I would have given up. And that's just not who I am. And I know that's not who I am. And so sometimes you have to just take a break. It's okay to sometimes just stop. Just tell yourself you just need to take a break. And that might be for a day. That might be for a week. For me, it was a couple weeks. I needed to take a breather for a couple of weeks and just recoup, just relax a little bit, do some things to make my house feel better. I feel like some people are like, maybe you just need a vacation. I actually don't have the travel bug right now. I feel like I'm in like my nesting era. Like I just keep like wanting to do things to my house to just like make it feel just like the best it can feel. I love my house. It's not a huge house, but I love it. And my husband and I have really like customized it to make it feel good to us. And so that's where I am right now, is just really like doing things to make my house feel like the best place it can possibly feel, and just to really relax. I've been watching a lot of shows lately. I mean, I am balls deep in Summer House. Southern Charm just ended. I mean, these are all the shows that I talk about with my clients all the time. I also like just love to binge like Dateline episodes. And as of lately, I've been watching The Righteous Gemstones, which is so fucking hilarious. It's just like kind of like a dark comedy, and it centers around this like family that owns a mega church. And it's just so ridiculous. It's just an easy watch. And so I've really been enjoying just watching things that are like mindless entertainment, that like I can feel my blood pressure going down, and I'm not scrolling on my phone. I'm just literally just watching shows, laying in bed, and just enjoying taking some time to myself. And also, even through the holidays, I always maintain my regular workout schedule. It's really important to me, no matter what, even if I'm feeling super tired and overwhelmed, to always stay on top of my workouts, because that is the one thing that no matter what makes me feel better and makes me feel my best. Eating a lot throughout the holidays and birthday dinners, I was just like, oh, I can't wait for Easter to be over. So yesterday, my husband and we did an Instacart order, and I got back to like meal prepping some things and just getting back on my regular schedule, workout schedule, worked out with my trainer. And, I really am just trying to come to this place of like consistency in my life. I really just need consistency, and that is something that I work hard to achieve, and I'm not always 100% with it. I mean, nobody is, but there are just certain things in my life that are just like non-negotiables, and I love to be consistent with my workouts and eating healthy for the majority of the time, and also being consistent with other things. I was trying to be consistent with the podcast, but it's like sometimes you just can't do it all, and that's okay. And it's okay to take breaks. But, there's just certain things in my life that I refuse to negotiate on. And so like my health, my physical and my mental health are non-negotiables for me at this point in my life. So if I start to feel overwhelmed by things, then I have to take, kind of a mental inventory and say, like, where can I take a break? And so, sometimes you just need to slow down a little bit, and that is okay. Sometimes I feel like we put pressure on ourselves, and I just had to like stop and be like, okay, like, why are you doing this to yourself? Like, nobody's going to care if you take a break for a couple of weeks from doing the podcast. Like, you're still doing what you said you were going to do. For the first couple months of the year, you put out 14 episodes. Like, that's a lot. And, you did that on top of working and being a mom and getting things done around your house and working out and taking care of yourself. Like, that's a huge accomplishment, and you should be proud of yourself. And if you need a break, take a fucking break and don't feel bad about it. And so that's what I did. And really just the purpose of this episode is really just to like encourage you to take a break if you need to take a break, and don't always feel so much pressure to be 100% all the time. Like there's going to be times when, certain things need more of your attention than others. You can't be giving 100% to everything all at the same time. And that is where you need to figure out what your comfortable balance is in your life. We talk about balance. That doesn't mean things are going to be, 50-50. Sometimes work is going to be 70 and your home life is going to be 30. But sometimes you need to then kind of switch gears a little bit. And so then you need to give more attention to your personal life. And, you're not going to be giving as much attention to projects that you're doing or work. Something has to take a back seat sometimes, and that's okay. And we don't have to put this stress and pressure on ourselves all the time. Sometimes it's better to just take things slow, to slow down a little bit, to give attention to something else for a little while. And then you can always go back to the other things. I didn't give up on my podcast. I was like, no, I like doing my podcast. I need a break for a few weeks. I need to gather my thoughts. I need to just relax a little bit. I need to do things around my house. I need to give attention to my son. I need to give attention to my husband. It's his birthday coming up. I want to do some nice things for him. I need to focus on posting some content for my hair page. I haven't done that in a while. So, it's okay to just take a step back sometimes from certain things. It doesn't mean you can't go back to it. And so here we are today, and I'm so happy to be back into recording again because I really do love it. And the thing I love about it the most, and the reason why I started the podcast, which I've talked about before, is really just connecting with my listeners and connecting with moms and women who have been through things to inspire you, to motivate you, because I've definitely been in a place before throughout, my motherhood journey and just throughout my life in general where I wasn't feeling so positive about things and I wasn't feeling super motivated. But I am someone who has managed to find confidence within myself and who has found motivation and inspiration within myself. And I really have, been on this journey of learning to love myself. And I feel like that's really important and worth sharing with others. My goal is to be on here bi-weekly, but sometimes it may be weekly, sometimes it may be monthly. I'm not putting that pressure on myself anymore. I want this to be, worth you listening to. I don't want to lose my creativity. I want this to be fun for me and for you. So that's where I am right now. And thank you if you've been listening to all of my prior episodes. And if you realize that I hadn't posted an episode in a few weeks, that's amazing because that means that you are, saving the show and you are waiting for it to pop up every week. I definitely have my podcast that I'm excited to listen to each week. And, so if you did notice that I was gone, thank you so much. And I am planning on being here for a long time. So for right now, I just, needed to take a little break. But I am back and I'm just going to get back into my groove as much as I possibly can. So yeah, I just wanted to give you a little update and let you know where I've been, what's been going on. We are just trying to do all the things. And I feel like that's really just, that's realistic. That's life. That's motherhood. That is being a woman. We have a lot of things going on all the time. So just full transparency and, so we are doing the best that we can. And, to be honest, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I'm learning as I'm going along. And, sometimes I have huge goals. I always have huge goals. And sometimes you know, I burn myself the fuck out. So we are just, as always, doing the best that we can and figuring it out as we go along. I love that you're here with me. And yeah, so I will talk to you again very soon. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Show me some love by sharing this episode and be the first to know when new episodes drop by following the show wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube and follow me on social media at Mommy You Said the F Word.